25 years ago, in 1999, talks began between European countries and South American countries, according to the Financial Times in June of 2019. These talks led to a proposed agreement between the EU and South American trade bloc called Mercosur, and this is according to the EU Note 8 given. So after 25 years, we have to ask the question, will the EU-Mercosur free trade agreement be ratified? After 25 years, will this still even be ratified? Our answer today is yes, for a few reasons. First, we'll look at the incentives for this trade agreement to pass. We'll see why it benefits most countries and why this means it'll likely pass. And then we need to look at the holdups and why these holdups are not a problem anymore. Why they're at one time they were, but now these holdups are gone, which will mean this trade agreement is likely to pass. And then now we'll see that the deal is moving forward and why that shows that this deal will be ratified. So when going into our first reason, we're going to look at the incentives of this trade agreement to be passed. First, we can see that it is mutually beneficial. And the way it is mutually beneficial is by eliminating tariffs. According to the KPMG of December 2024, this trade agreement eliminates tariffs between the EU countries and that South American bloc named Mercosur. So this is mutually beneficial by eliminating tariffs. But then we can also look at our second subpoint, which is modernizing South America and strengthening the EU. How will this do this? Well, it'll do it in a couple ways. First, South America has a wide access, a lot of lithium. And because of this, this will allow Europe to benefit by getting lots of access to lithium. But then also it'll benefit the South American countries. And the way it'll do this, by the European Union will invest 1.8 billion euros to support Mercosur's green and digital transition. And this is according to Center for Strategic and International Studies, December 2024. So we can see that this deal is mutually beneficial by a couple things, from eliminating tariffs and by modernizing both South America and strengthening the EU. This provides good reason for this to pass. So now we can go on to our next reason why this will pass after looking at the mutual benefits. We can now look at the holdups. Again, holdups. So we have two holdups to touch on. One being France and the second being deforestation concerns. Going to our first concern why this potentially would not pass is France. France is the most vocal opponent of this free trade agreement, according to the Atlantic Council in December 2024. In fact, French President Emmanuel Macron has been the loudest opponent of this trade agreement by far out of any European nation. He has been decrying it and saying that it would not benefit France. However, this is no longer a concern. And the way it is no longer a concern is that the fall of his prime minister scarred his image as president of France, and this is according to the AP in December 2024. So now his say has been weakened significantly because his own country is falling apart under his leadership. So then now we can look at deforestation concerns. When we look at deforestation concerns among the EU, they were primarily worried about deforestation in the Amazon, and the reason they were worried is because under former Brazil president Bolsonaro, that he was actively contributing to the deforestation of the Amazon jungle and was not providing any protections or anything to stop that. And this was providing concern for the EU. However, why is this no longer a concern? This is no longer a concern because now there is a new president of Brazil. He is no longer concerned, and this is allowing this deal to move forward. And this is according to the Peterson Institute for International Economics in January of 25. So when we look at the two holdups, which is France and the deforestation concerns, we can clearly see that this is no longer a problem because both of these concerns have been eliminated. So now we can go on to our third point, which is the deal is now moving forward, which is why it will likely pass. So when we look at the deal moving forward, we can first see that a deal has been struck, and then secondly, agreement among countries. So let's look at how the deal has been struck. According to the Atlantic Council in December of 2024, and a deal has been struck between the EU and the Mercosur countries. the trade bloc. So the deal has been struck. While it has not been ratified, the deal has finally been struck after 25 years, which shows that it will finally be passed and ratified. After this, the next steps, according to the Atlantic Council, is it will have to be translated, they'll have to go through legal scrubbing, formal signing, and then ratification. So we can see that the deal has been struck, and now there is very little next steps in order for it to be fully ratified. So it is moving forward. And then now let's look at the second reason this deal is now moving forward, and that is agreement among countries. So when we look at agreement among countries, there is widespread agreement among Spain from the Prime Minister, who has lauded his support. The Chancellor of Germany has also provided his support. The President of Brazil has provided his support. And then the President of Argentina, and then also the most important, which is the European Union President. She has supported this fully and has looked forward to it passing. So we can see that this is according to the Associated Press in January of 2025. So by looking at how this deal has been struck and is very close to being ratified, then we can also look at the agreement among the countries. We can see that this deal is now moving forward and will likely be passed. But let's recap and go over the reasons why this will be ratified. So the first reason was the incentives to pass, and we looked at how it would eliminate tariffs, which provides mutual benefit, and how it would modernize South America by pouring in billions of dollars and strengthening the EU by providing access to raw important materials such as lithium. And then we can look at how we looked at the holdups. Now France and Brazil are no longer a concern to stopping this deal and are no longer a threat now that French President Macron has been weakened and that Brazil has a new president. So deforestation concerns are not as strong anymore. And then we can see that the deal is now moving forward because the deal has been struck and there is agreement among countries. So for these three reasons, we can go back to the question, will the EU-Mercosur Free Trade Agreement be ratified? For these three reasons, yes, it will be passed.